Casey Hasten is joining us. Casey is a hiring expert. Casey, the reason we wanted to talk to you today is because now some companies are actually asking about your college scores as part of a job application. That seems, I mean, if I tried to apply for a job today and they asked me what my SAT score was, what difference does that make after all these years?
Well, and a question I have for you is, would you want to hire your 17-year-old self today?
Oh, my God, I wouldn't hire me now.
My parents tried to take me back to the hospital.
They left him on a basket on the...
You kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I think it's pretty irrelevant to ask for SAT or ACT scores these days. I don't think that's a good marker or indication of how well an employee is going to perform.
I don't think it is either. But then again, I don't think a college degree is a good indication of how somebody's going to perform.
Yes and no. I mean, I do think that there is value to a college degree, but I also think there's value given to the work experience or a skill trade or, just, having that tenure with a company.
Are college degrees worth it today?
It depends on which college degree you get.
Okay.
If you get a college degree in basket weaving, no.
Mm-hmm. All right, I have 4 friends who hold PhDs.
Wow.
2 of them are as dumb as a box of rocks, and one of those 2, when we talk about his job at the university, he talks about it like he's running a con. Because, you don't have to do anything. I don't have to teach classes. All I have to do is, he's talking about it like he's running a con. And, and the other 2, by the way, I wouldn't get in a debate with for anything on any subject because they're brilliant minds.
Yeah.
It just seems random to me that the education you get from a university.
Well, and I think, too, it depends on which university you go to because there are what we call the paper mills that will give you a piece of paper saying you're a doctor, but they're not worth the paper they're written on, right?
Yeah.
So it really depends. And if you put in the work to get that education, I mean, it depends on the individual.
Well, I wouldn't want to have a doctor who he got a fake degree. I wouldn't want to. You want somebody who's going to be smart, but I think we put a lot of stock into a lot of universities and ideas and standardized testing, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think it necessarily proves what you're made of or who you are or even what you know.
No, I agree with you 100% on that. I was one of those that's a non-traditional, went back to college later and had a very successful career before I went back to college. But I did it just to prove a point.
Are online colleges, are those good now?
I think it depends on which ones you look at. I myself attended an online college, and I will tell you, that is the hardest work I've ever had to do.
All right.
I can imagine it would catch up with you. Yeah, I can imagine it'd be tough. I think I actually probably put a lot more pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
To get through that.
And I'd be going from algebra 2 to Facebook and back all the time.
Yeah.
Well, but it's definitely a challenge when you are, and if you look at it, the online schools, which are absolutely, the majority of them are accredited schools, they were way ahead of the game when the pandemic hit because all these other universities had to go to online after that. And now they're like, oh, this is a good idea.
Yeah, it's cheaper, that's for sure.
How about that? That's a great point.
Yeah, very much so.
That's because that made them take the online universities as serious university to get your degree from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Casey Hasten with us. Casey, we're talking about hiring people right now. Say you got a kid who just got out of college, they're out looking for a job. What do you recommend for those folks?
Networking. I actually run an organization here locally called Success North Dallas, and part of that organization is our Young Executives Initiative. And so we are constantly bringing them together, exposing them to those higher execs. But 80% of jobs are found through networking. And you need to trust your network, and you need to build your network now. I cannot say enough about how important that is.
80%?
Yep.
Let me ask you one more question. And I've said this before, that job applications, you shouldn't have to put your name on it or your anything except your qualifications of why you would be good for the job you're applying for. That would cut out a lot of, racial things and things like that. If all you had was their qualifications and a phone number to get a hold of them.
That is an interesting concept.
So that way you're hiring the qualification. But yeah, I would think in a business though you'd want to know what kind of personality you're getting too.
You'd think, but
I think that personality is huge. In fact, when I'm hiring, or even when I'm coaching for career candidates, I have an assessment that I use that tells me so much about the person, both their external behaviors and their internal wiring, because not everybody's wired the same.
Hal, we should see if we're compatible.
Yeah,
we may not.
There you go.
We may not be qualified to even work here.
They're both equal people, but would you rather hire Dick Cheney or Carrot Top? You know.
It's an interesting comparison.
I mean, well,
all right.
If you don't know who they are and you just have a resume, you
just got to cross your fingers.
There
All right,
you go.
Casey, what's the name of your company?
VIP.
VIP. It's here in DFW. Casey Hasten with us.
Right.
Casey, thanks for coming on.
I'll call you at
Thanks
9.
for having me.